Was boxing the cause of Muhammad Ali's Parkinson's disease? That's what I'm here to find out today. Muhammad Ali was still boxing professionally when observers first noticed signs of neurological decline, and many have been quick to link his profession to his diagnosis, years later, of Parkinson's disease. In the decades that followed, and with Ali's death Friday, June 3, 2016 at the age of 74, however, a stubborn fact remains. Neurologists cannot definitively say whether Ali's symptoms were a result of his boxing career, but they said head trauma does increase the risk. It's very hard to point in almost any individual case to what's causing the Parkinson's, said Todd Scherer, the chief executive of the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. But there's pretty convincing data that head injury can increase your risk for developing the disease. Scherer, who holds a PhD in neuroscience, said a 2006 study published in Annals of Neurology helped establish that risk. In the study, a team led by Dr. Samuel Goldman of the Parkinson's Institute and Clinical Center in Sunnyvale, Calif., followed the cases of 93 pairs of twins in which only one of each had Parkinson's. Those who had sustained at least one head injury were more likely than their twin to have a later diagnosis of Parkinson's, and the likelihood increased in those with more than one head injury. Just to remind you, Ali went up against the hardest punchers in boxing history. Who are they? Ernie Shavers, the hardest puncher in boxing history. By the way, Muhammad Ali ranked Shavers as the hardest puncher he ever faced. Shavers hit so hard that 68 of his 75 professional boxing wins were via knockout. 51 of his 68 stoppages came within 3 rounds, and 33 of those knockouts occurred in the first round. That's a 92% overall knockout rate. Simply lasting more than a few rounds with Shavers was considered a victory of sorts. George Foreman. In 1997, Foreman retired from boxing again with a final career record of 76 wins, 68 by knockout, and 5 losses. That's a 89.4% overall knockout rate. Yikes, Sonny Liston. Liston is one of the most famous heavyweights in boxing history, and he even shared the ring twice with Ali. Liston, who posted a career record of 50 wins and 4 losses with 39 knockouts. That's a 78% overall knockout rate. Ron Lyle. Lyle is another hard-hitting heavyweight. Lyle was winning his 1975 fight with Muhammad Ali on all 3 judges' scorecards before Ali was awarded a controversial TKO in the 11th round. Ron's professional boxing record was 43, 7-1, with 31 wins by knockout. That's a 72.9% overall knockout rate. And finally, the only man who was able to knock Ali down with a vicious left hook, Joe Frazier. The most memorable moment of all time was the Frazier left hook that landed on the jaw of Muhammad Ali in the 15th round of their first fight. Ali survived, but Frazier, in that moment, sealed his reputation as having one of the most lethal punches in boxing history. Retired heavyweight Stan Ward, who sparred with both Frazier and George Foreman, was asked during an ES News video which of the two punched harder. No hesitation. "Frazier," he said. "Frazier." Frazier's overall record was 32 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw, with 27 wins by knockout. That's a 84% overall knockout rate. If you fight any of these men, you will be leaving with a severe concussion that could last for days or even weeks. Ali fought all 5 of them without hesitation or fear. This is why they nicknamed him the greatest. No one faced harder competition than Ali and won even against all the odds. He was truly the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time. But, with all good, comes bad. Parkinson's is a progressive nervous system disorder in which vital nerve cells in the brain malfunction and die, curbing the production of dopamine, the chemical that sends messages to the part of the brain that controls motor skills. Symptoms include tremors, slowed movement, and speech changes, among others. There is no cure, but treatment options can help manage symptoms. Goldman said Saturday that he was not familiar with the details of Ali's case. But from what I understand, there's a good likelihood that his Parkinson's is a consequence of repetitive head trauma. Based on more recent studies of laboratory animals, Goldman said that he believes those who suffer 2 episodes of brain trauma within a short period of time are more likely to experience degenerative brain symptoms later in life. It can really set off a degenerative cascade, he said. Dr. Rodolfo Savica, a physician and researcher with the Mayo Clinic, agreed that those who suffer head trauma are more likely to face a diagnosis of Parkinson's later in life. Genetic components, he and others believe, are also at play. There is definitely an individual predisposition to develop this disease that we think can be potentially enhanced by the head trauma itself, he said. Dr. John Trojanowski, a neurologist at the University of Pennsylvania, said he met Ali at a fundraising event in Las Vegas several years ago, by which point the boxer was unable to speak. Based on what Trojanowski understood of Ali's symptoms and Trojanowski's own research, he said it's highly likely that his early-onset Parkinson's was a result of his boxing. We know that at some threshold, once crossed, exposure to traumatic brain injury and repetitive brain injury sets the stage for early-onset forms of neurodegeneration, he said. We're far from solving the riddle of Parkinson's precise causes, he added. But what everyone agrees on is that it ain't good to box and have multiple concussions.
I'm gonna float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. George can't hit what his eyes can't see. Now you see me, now you don't. You think you will, but I know you won't.